It was a quiet Thursday evening when Lily first noticed that something wasn't right with her neighbour, Mrs. Davis. She'd lived in the same apartment complex for 3 years, and Mrs. Davis had always been a friendly but private woman. They'd exchange pleasantries in the hallway, but that was about it. That night, however, Lily was getting her mail when she saw Mrs. Davis's apartment door slightly ajar. It was unusual. Mrs. Davis was always so careful about locking up. Lily hesitated, but curiosity got the best of her. She knocked gently. No answer. She knocked harder. Still nothing. "Mrs. Davis, are you there?" Lily waited for a moment, then pushed the door open just a crack. The apartment was dark, the curtains drawn. She stepped inside. The smell of stale air hit her immediately. "Mrs. Davis?" she called, her voice wavering a little. She peered into the living room. Nothing. The kitchen was empty too, and so was the bathroom. Then she noticed something strange. Mrs. Davis's shoes were still neatly placed by the door, her purse lying on the kitchen counter, and her phone left on the couch. It was as if she had just vanished into thin air. Lily's heart started to race. She quickly stepped back into the hallway and knocked on the door of another neighbour, Mark. Mark was a college student who usually kept to himself, but Lily knew him well enough to ask for help. "Hey, Mark, have you seen Mrs. Davis?" she asked when he answered. "Her door is open and I'm starting to get worried." Mark squinted, then looked down the hallway. "I haven't seen her in a couple of days. Thought she was just out or something." Lily felt a chill run through her. Mrs. Davis was the kind of person who never missed her daily walk. It wasn't like her to disappear for this long without a word. Mark grabbed his jacket. "Let's go to the building manager. We need to get inside." Together, they made their way to the manager's office. The building manager, a woman named Karen, didn't seem concerned at first, but when she looked at the apartment and saw the door wide open, her expression changed. She unlocked the door and let them in. "Call the cops," she said as soon as they stepped inside. "This is bad." Lily's stomach twisted as she looked around the apartment again, this time with a growing sense of dread. The place was unsettlingly tidy, but there was something else, something off. The couch cushions were flattened in a way that suggested someone had been sitting there for hours, maybe days. The bathroom was locked, and when Mark tried to open it, it wouldn't budge. Just then, Lily's phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a text from her best friend, Sarah. "I heard about Mrs. Davis. The cops found something. It's not good." Lily's blood ran cold. What did Sarah mean? Minutes later, the police arrived. They immediately started asking questions, but the answers were all vague. No one had seen Mrs. Davis leave the building in the last 48 hours, and no one knew where she'd gone. The detectives combed through her apartment. Lily overheard them discussing a potential foul play situation. They began taking fingerprints, searching for any signs of a struggle. But there was nothing. No blood, no broken furniture, no sign that Mrs. Davis had been taken by force. That was the first red flag. The second came the next day. Lily was sitting at her kitchen table when a knock came at her door. She opened it to find the building manager standing there, looking even more nervous than before. "I'm not supposed to say anything," Karen whispered, glancing around the hallway, "but I think I know who might have taken her." Lily's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Karen hesitated. "You know that guy who moved in a few months ago? The one on the 3rd floor? He's different, quiet, keeps to himself. But I've seen him hanging around Mrs. Davis's apartment late at night. I don't know what he's doing, but it's not good." Lily's mind raced. She knew exactly who Karen was talking about. James, the reclusive man who was always home but never socialised with anyone. Lily had seen him a few times in the hallways, but never thought much of it. Now, the thought that he might have something to do with Mrs. Davis's disappearance was terrifying. Later that evening, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. Every time she glanced out her window, she thought she saw a figure standing near the building across the street, staring up at her apartment. The next morning, a call came from the police. They had found Mrs. Davis's body in a nearby park. But the real shock came when they said they found something else. Mrs. Davis's purse, with all her identification, tucked away in a trash can not far from where her body had been discovered. The strangest part? There was a receipt in the purse from a store in the mall across town, dated the day after Mrs. Davis had been reported missing. It was clear now whoever had taken her had gone to great lengths to make it look like she just disappeared on her own. The police had their suspicions, and they were zeroing in on James. But Lily couldn't shake the nagging feeling that they were missing something, something big. That night, Lily decided to confront James herself. She couldn't explain why, but she felt like he knew something that no one else did. When she knocked on his door, James answered immediately, his face expressionless. "Lily," he said, his voice flat. "What do you want?" She swallowed hard. "I know you were close to Mrs. Davis, and I know you know more than you're saying." James just stared at her, his eyes cold. For a moment, it felt like the whole world had stopped. Then, before Lily could respond, he stepped back and slammed the door in her face. Lily stood frozen for a second, the weight of what had just happened sinking in. She had no evidence, no real proof, but she knew something wasn't right. But then, a twist in the case came that no one could have predicted. A week later, the police called Lily with good news. They'd found Mrs. Davis alive, safe and sound, but with a surprising story to tell. It turned out Mrs. Davis had been struggling with some personal issues that had led her to make a rash decision. She'd planned her disappearance on her own accord, intending to disappear for a little while, away from the pressures of her life. But she hadn't planned on scaring anyone, least of all Lily. It was a relief for everyone, but also a reminder of how easy it is to misjudge situations based on assumptions. Mrs. Davis had planned to return home once she'd sorted out her thoughts, but in her absence, it became clear how much the neighbours cared about her. In the end, Mrs. Davis apologised to everyone, and she and Lily ended up having a long, heartfelt conversation over coffee. The community rallied around her, supporting her in ways they never had before. As for James, it turned out he had been keeping an eye on Mrs. Davis out of concern, not suspicion. The strange behaviours and odd moments were all because he'd been worried about her mental state. It wasn't until later that he learned about her plan to disappear and decided to stay silent about it. Lily's world felt a little less frightening after all of this. In the end, it turned out that the fear had been mostly due to misunderstandings, and things were going to be okay after all.